Locked in. I should have worn my Canadian tuxedo because I'm doing my Mason impression.
Yeah.
I mean, technically it's a Colorado tuxedo too, but it all works, right?
Close enough.
Yeah. I got V here with me. How you doing, Vishaal?
I'm good. How about you?
Pretty good, pretty good. All right, let's talk some betting for the week. First, we're gonna start with last night and the glorious game that was.
Oh
Woo.
yeah.
You know it. We're back to classic Thursday night football, baby. Football you don't want to be watching.
And it's
Love
not
to
going to
see
end
it.
anytime soon. If you look at next week's Thursday night game,
Oh God, what's next week's game?
Giants Cowboys.
Oh God, why? Watch
Yeah, it's
watch
on.
the Giants win that game for no reason. That
That'd be
would
pretty
that would
good.
happen on a Thursday night game.
Yeah, in New York.
100%. Let's see. So we got the Jets covered the spread of 6.5, just barely, right? Winning
Barely.
24-3.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers looked like Aaron Rodgers though.
You
So
looked
that was
really good.
nice to see.
Yeah.
And then you had Drake May make a small appearance, a guest starring role in the Jacoby Brissett show. So I mean, the further we get into this season, we're probably going to see more of May. But was there any key takeaway you had from this game last night?
Yeah, and we even start with New York. You said it at the top. Obviously, Rodgers looked good. I mean, the big thing is, not only did he look good just in the pocket, but he was moving around quite a bit, and he was pretty successful doing so, which is, I think, a little bit of a surprise for a lot of people because I think over the first couple of weeks he didn't look all that mobile.
Right.
But seeing that mobility come back and him being able to do the stuff outside the pocket was fairly impressive. And if he can continue doing that, Jets are legit. I think contenders because obviously we know how good their defense is. Even though their pass rush isn't, maybe not as good as they're hoping it would be coming to the season without Hassan Reddick. You know,
Right.
you have Will McDonald stepping up. He's had a monster performances the last couple of weeks, and obviously that defense and the offense, full of stars. Garrett Wilson finally had a breakout game this year. You still have Brees Hall, and then a bunch of other guys who will do good because they have Rodgers under center. So, yeah, awesome showing for the Jets, and they're going to be hyped up. I think going forward for the rest of the season if we can continue getting these kind of Rodgers performances. And then on the flip side for New England, I think this is kind of the team we were expecting coming to the season. I mean, obviously they had their big win in week 1. People were thinking, yeah, maybe they're not going to be as bad as we think. They looked okay last week as well, forcing overtime against the Seahawks. But I think last night was kind of the reason why, I mean, their win total coming to the season was 3.5. There was a reason for that. This is not going to be a great team this year. And, maybe they throw Drake May in, but even with the very, very limited snaps he got, he was getting hit quite a bit. So, I mean, I don't know if you really want that going.
I 100% believe that that's part of the reason that they have Jacoby Brissett back there right now is because they don't want a JJ McCarthy situation. They don't want Drake May to take a bunch of hits and risk hurting him. They know he's the franchise, so they're going to ease him into it for sure. I think it's also important to point out, I pointed out a couple of times that the refs went back, reviewed the tapes, and said that Cincinnati should have had that Mike Gesicki touchdown in week 1.
Right.
That they should have ultimately won that game 17-16, or at least had a lead, if not won the game outright. So the fact that New England escaped with a victory and is 1-2 right now is a borderline miracle. The refs helped him get that one. So, yeah, I think they are who we thought they were, right?
Yeah, and especially if they're not going to be able to run the ball like last night, then it's totally over. I mean, that's really the only reason they were in. The first 2 games was because Stevenson was doing so well, but if you go up against a defense where they shut you down early in the run game and you fall behind and you're forced to rely on Brissett or even May, whoever it is, this is what we're going to get for the rest of the season from them.
Yeah. All right, let's get into the Sunday slate a little bit here. The first one I have on the list here, selfishly, is this Chicago-Indianapolis game. Vishaal, you're my fellow Bears guy here. What the hell is happening right now? Got Keenan Allen's going to miss the game. He's out. You've got Rome Odunze is at least healthy. He's not on the injury report.
Right.
So he's going into it theoretically 100%. But Caleb Williams is running for his damn life back there. We're having PTSD flashbacks to quarterbacks of years past. So, well, I mean, right now it's Bears +2, Colts 2-point favorite at home, which means on a neutral site that they would actually be favored by a point.
Yeah.
It's basically a coin flip here. So am I crazy to think that the Bears should win this game?
I mean, if you're going to get an Anthony Richardson performance like you got last week, you should win this game 1,000 times out of 1,000.
I think the Bears defense gives you a legitimate shot against anybody, but especially against how this Colts offense has looked to start the season. I would feel like this is going to be a highly defensive game, but the defense for the Colts isn't that good.
Especially against the ground. I mean, how do you let a Malik Willis-led offense run all over you when you know that's the only thing that they can do? It's just not a great look for that, defensive performance for the Colts. And, going back to Chicago's defense, I think let's not forget, as much as people want to talk about Caleb Williams' performance in that Sunday night game, Texans only scored 19 points. They only had one touchdown.
Right.
I don't think they got into the red zone. I don't feel like I don't remember them being in the red zone at all. Their one touchdown was like 25, 30 yards out. And all their field goals.
Jaime Fairbairn hit 3 50-plus yard field goals. Like
this is a legit defense in Chicago, and you're totally right. That's going to keep them in any game. So if you're getting plus points at any point in the season, it feels like you kind of have to jump on it because again, their defense will keep them in it, and Caleb Williams will get there. It's just a matter of time. We see they're very close already. As close as they looked in the first 2 weeks. That's kind of how long it took. Multiple years for other quarterbacks in Chicago to even get as close as Caleb has been in the first 2 weeks. So. No concerns. It's a long season.
100%. Yeah. All right. We're together on that one. How about New York and Cleveland? A roller coaster for these two teams for sure.
Yeah, this is my first pick of the week. I'm taking the under in this game at 39.5. This is a gross football game, not one that I'm going to spend a lot of time watching, but I very much expect this to be a low-scoring football game. I know the Browns won last week, but their offense was still not very good. They scored 16 points, and then they got 2 points off of safety. They have 3 total touchdowns on the year. 2 of them came against Dallas when they were down 20-plus points by that point in the game. So garbage time touchdowns, can't count on those. Watson has continued to not be a good quarterback. He ranks in the bottom 10 in completion percentage, passer rating, and QBR. He's just a shell of himself. I'm not sure how much longer they're going to be able to continue throwing him out there. He's just not playing very well. And then they're also not doing anything on the ground. They rank for the 11th fewest rushing yards in the league so far through 2 weeks. So I can't see this Cleveland offense doing anything even against the bad Giants defense. On the flip side, Daniel Jones and the Giants offense was a lot better last week compared to week 1, but I do think a lot of that has to do with them playing a Washington defense that is not very good. And this Cleveland defense is significantly better than whatever Washington was throwing out last week. Cleveland held Jacksonville to 13 points last week. Lawrence was sacked 4 times and completed less than 50% of his passes. So Cleveland, good defense, bad offense. Giants, bad offense. Formula for an easy under, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to say 39.5 felt really high. Right now, the line we're getting on Betting Pros is 38.5. That still feels really high.
That still feels high, yeah. I don't think either team is going to hit 20
sub
points.
30 is probably a good number for me. I feel like that one's going to be real dumpster fire.
Yeah, not great. I'm not expecting a ton of fireworks on that one.
Just going down the list here, I made this comment to Pop Neal on the Wednesday show, but I'm sticking with it. If you can go out there and win a game with Malik Willis as your quarterback, Jordan Love is a system QB, and I will not hear anything else about it. That's it. Period. End of story. There's nothing special. It's just the LaFleur system. That's it. But it's the double revenge game. You've got Matt LaFleur going back to Tennessee, and you've got Malik Willis going back to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And then here comes Jordan Love trying to ruin the revenge story.
Yeah.
Trying to come back from his 4-week injury in 1 week because he saw how good Malik Willis looked in the one game. And he said, I'm not getting Wally pipped. And he's just forcing his way through it. He played for most of the practices this week. Mm-hmm. He's currently listed as questionable because the doctors haven't cleared him to play. Yeah. Because why would you? You're paying him so much money and you just won a game with his backup. Why would you let him rush back? This feels like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's something similar happened last week where he practiced late in the week and he was still questionable going into Saturday. And then eventually he was ruled out. I feel like it's probably going to be something similar this week. Just because he's practicing doesn't necessarily mean he's going to throw them out there. I think that's why this game is a little tough to handicap and why I'm probably staying away from it this week, just because there is that a little bit of uncertainty of who's going to be playing for for Green Bay. But if it is Malik Willis, then I don't know. I wouldn't expect them to be able to run as well against this Tennessee defense that has such a good defensive line with Devondre Set and Jeffrey Simmons in the middle there clocking things up. So I think it's going to be a much more difficult matchup. But then you always have the Will Levis factor where you just have no idea what he's ever going to do with the football in his hand. I took them at 3.5 last week.
Yep.
Stupidly, I felt pretty good about it, and then he throws the ball backwards and just blows up the bet.
Well, was this was it last year with Baltimore when they kept getting out to huge leads and then blowing it?
That's what Tennessee 2 years ago. I remember them blowing a huge game to Miami where they had like a 28-7 lead or something.
Yeah. That's this Tennessee team, right? They were up like 17-0 on Chicago at halftime. They lose that game 24-17. They were up, I think, similarly like 14-0, something like
10
that.
10-0 maybe last week. Yeah.
But again, they come out white hot. They look great. All of a sudden, the wheels completely fall off. The other team makes adjustments, and Tennessee just doesn't know what the hell to do. Right. So if I am betting any Tennessee game, at least in the early stretches here, I'm waiting until they're up 10-0 and then betting money line on the other team.
Or take Tennessee first half, spread, money line, whatever.
Tennessee first half, whatever you want to do it, however you want to do it. It's just they're a first half team, and then there's some kind of adjustments that they just haven't caught up to yet. Because I feel like that team is better than their 0-2 start that they've had. They've looked better, at least. They just kind of fall apart in the second half, like we were saying.
Yeah, with a little bit more competent quarterback play, that they're probably 2-0, to be honest.
How about the story of the NFL right now? The New Orleans Saints playing the Philadelphia Eagles. What a matchup this turned out to be.
Yeah.
The Saints, who have been dodging the salary cap since they invented the salary cap, have now put together a team that has had, 15, I think, offensive possessions and scored on all of them. No punts yet. No.
And that was through the first 15 possessions, but they had a couple last week that did not end up scoring with.
There you go. There you go. But still, that's impressive.
Very.
You would never have guessed that.
Me neither. I'm definitely eating crow so far on this Saints team. I think in our week 1 preview, I was telling Mason that I think the Saints are one of my dark horse picks to have the first overall pick in the draft next year, because I just did not think they would be very good at all.
I'd be right there with you. I don't blame you on that.
Yeah, but it's been a phenomenal showing so far through the first 2 weeks. Not sure how long it will continue, but I do like them this week. I have the Saints covering the 2.5 in this game, and in this game going over the total of 49.5. The big thing for me in this game is really Philadelphia's defense. I think they've just looked really bad the first 2 weeks of the season. Yes. They're not getting any sort of pass rush. They only have 3 sacks on the season, which is tied for second fewest in the league, and they rank near the bottom of the league in pressure percentage. They're not getting nearly enough out of their top draft picks from the last couple of years, whether it's Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Jordan Davis, Nakobe Dean. It's a bunch of unknown players who are making all their plays, like Zach Brown, who I never heard of, has 2 of their 3 sacks. Thomas Booker, Milton Williams. I don't know who any of these players are, but they're the ones who are playing all right and making plays. But you need your top draft picks to really come out and make a showing for this team to really be good and be the team that they want to be. And then if their pass rush is not doing anything, then their secondary is going to continue to struggle, because we know how bad they were last year, and they're still very young right now. So not trusting this Philadelphia defense, really liking this New Orleans offense through the first couple of weeks. So expecting a nice 30-plus point performance again from the Saints offense. So should go over, should be a Saints cover.
Nice. I like it. I think we got the next one here is Chargers Pittsburgh. We'll touch on it briefly just because we found out today, at the last minute, that Justin Herbert's dealing with a high ankle sprain. He's listed as doubtful for the game.
Yep.
So I believe it's still Easton Stick, right?
Yep. Still
going to end up being the starter there. They were already 2-point underdogs. So technically they'd be favored in a neutral site, or at home they'd be favored by 4. But
I think it's even gone to 3 in some places because of the news that came out today.
Yeah, I think that the start for 2-0 at them is kind of unexpected, that they're off to a hotter start than people may have given them credit for. And then you get the Steelers. You know, Justin Fields hasn't given that job back to Russell Wilson yet. We'll see how that goes. We've seen that story before all too well. And if you compare the numbers, I was looking at it because I thought it was a little bit interesting. It's really comparative to what they had Justin Fields doing in his first 2, 3, 4 weeks as a Bear. Barely throwing the ball, barely running the ball, just kind of keeping it out of his hands, not letting him ruin the game for you.
right,
and win the game on defense and win the game on rushing. And so far it's worked out for them. That's a method that'll work for them. Not having solid QB play, they're kind of used to that. You also have to remember you've got Arthur Smith calling the shots on offense there, so that isn't surprising that they're having a lot of trouble getting the ball moving offensively. But yeah, I think it was an easy pick before to kind of go Pittsburgh holding face at home.
Yeah.
But now without Herbert, I'd say 100% that should be a lock.
Yeah, and then I'm also loving the under in this game. I got it at 36.5. I think it's already dropped down to 35.5 because of the Herbert news. But
yep.
I just don't see either team being able to do anything offensively. This Pittsburgh defense is incredible through 2 weeks. TJ Watt continues to be a monster, and they have a number of other guys across the defensive line who are very good. So it should be a very, very low scoring game. It should be a Pittsburgh win if Easton does in fact start.
Do we want to touch on this Houston-Minnesota game at all?
Yeah, we can just briefly say there are a couple injuries that Minnesota has that are worth noting. Jordan Addison, Dallas Turner, and Ivan Pace are already been ruled out for this game. So a little bit of a hit for Minnesota's defensive line in front seven. So I'm liking Houston in this one. They should. It's only 2 points on the road. I think they should be able to win this game outright and cover.
Yeah, I mean, Minnesota has looked good for the first 2 weeks of the season, but how many years in a row have we said Minnesota looks good to start the season?
Yeah,
this feels like the same old song and dance. Good for Sam Darnold for stepping up and looking, calm, cool, collected back there. Mm-hmm. But again, like I was saying the other night, it's easy for him to look great when you have Justin Jefferson catching the ball for you and running 97-yard touchdowns. I mean, that really helps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty easy to play quarterback when you got him out there.
Right. So Denver and Tampa, my favorite, the Baker Mayfield show.
Yes.
Does he keep the ball rolling against a really bad Denver team?
I think so. I got the Bucks minus 6.5 in this game. Like you said, Baker's looked terrific through the first 2 weeks, tied for first in passing touchdowns so far, which has just one interception in this one, or so far this season. Going up against a Denver defense that has not been nearly as good as they were in the past. Patrick Tan did not look very good last week. He only gave up one catch, but he had a couple of pass interferences deep down the field. Seemed like he was getting torched a little bit by George Pickens and Justin Fields in the passing game there. Now he has to go up against Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Baker Mayfield. It could be another poor performance from him this week. And then on the flip side, I just don't see this Denver offense being able to do anything whatsoever. They've scored the third fewest points in the league. They have just one offensive touchdown. Bo Nix has the fourth lowest QBR in the league, second lowest passer rating amongst starting quarterbacks. They also can't run the ball, sixth fewest rushing yards in the league. They're going up against the Tampa Bay defense that has a number of injuries, but are still playing very well. Kalijah Cansey's been out, Vita Vea has been out, Antoine Winfield has been out. They still only gave up 16 points to the Lions last week. If you can do that on the road against Detroit, you'll have no trouble stopping this Bo Nix offense.
Yep, 100% with you there. Carolina and Las Vegas. The Raiders just had an injury come through, didn't they?
Yeah, they got a couple injuries for the Raiders on the D-line. Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins are questionable. I would expect both of them to play because they are just tough SOBs, so I expect them to see them out there, but it is worth noting and keeping an eye out.
And I swear I just saw it come through. Vamp. Kill time for me. I know I saw this. I'm not crazy.
Well, I'm taking Carolina +5 in this game, which is the most disgusting thing ever, but Andy Dalton back in the starting lineup, significant upgrade over what they were getting with Bryce Young in his one start for Carolina last year. Andy Dalton had 361 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Carolina scored 27 points. That's the second most points they've scored since the start of last season, which also coincides with when Bryce Young took over the reins. So significant upgrade for Carolina's offense. I think you're finally going to see some production out of Deontay Johnson and Adam Thielen in this game. And 5 points is just too much for a Raiders team that is too incompetent to be favored by that many points. They just have too many issues surrounding this organization that they always do. Minshew is a guy who can implode in any given minute. You have a coach in Antonio Pierce who decides to punt on 4th and 1 in opposing territory when you're down in the fourth quarter. Unacceptable stuff. When you have situations like that, you can never be favored by this many points. So have to take Carolina.
And it was Malcolm Kuntz who I was thinking of.
Okay.
Serious knee injury. He's going to miss the rest of the season.
Oh, that just happened today?
Yeah. About an hour ago they dropped that.
Yeah,
so Yeah, that's going to hurt them even more.
Yeah, for sure.
Miami and Seattle. So Tua is on IR.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be Skylar Tompkins going to be starting. So
Yep.
what are we thinking about Miami's offense and their chances against Seattle here?
Yeah, not really liking it. Even when Tua was in, this offense really was not producing. Like 6+ quarters with Tua under center, they scored a total of 27 points. And now you're throwing in Skylar Thompson in there, who's only started 2 games in his career. He's never thrown for more than 166 yards in a game. Just 1 touchdown pass to 3 interceptions in his career. Going up against the Seattle defense that so far has probably not been quite as good as I was expecting them to be coming into the season. I was expecting them to be a top 10 defense, given all the pieces that they have and given that they have Mike Macdonald as coach. A little bit of a slow start, but they're still doing okay. I mean, they're still allowing just the second fewest passing yards in the league, and they have the third most highest pressure percentage so far in the league. So still doing okay, but I think they're going to get better as the season goes on. Can't imagine this Miami offense doing really anything in this game. I'm liking the under at 41.5 in this one.
I like that. I think I'm also kind of steering clear of this one because I feel pretty positive about Detroit going to Arizona in the afternoon and getting the job done there. I feel like they kind of got blindsided in week 2. They weren't really expecting that. And I feel like they're going to take out some frustrations on the Cardinals down there in Tempe, Phoenix, or wherever they are these days. I don't even remember.
How are you feeling about Detroit's defense, though, against Kyler Murray and that offense?
That's the biggest question mark is how healthy are they, especially in the secondary, because the secondary isn't great to begin with, but now they've got some of their young guys dealing with some injuries. So I think that's going to be the biggest thing is if they can get the ball downfield against the secondary. But if Hutchinson can get home, if he can get in there and just disrupt Kyler and force him to run out of the pocket, I think that they'll have their way with them in this game.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun one. I was having a lot of trouble figuring out where I wanted to go in this one, and I really couldn't come down either way, whether it was the spread or the total. It just feels like I could see like a million different scenarios for this game playing out. But either way, I think it's going to be a phenomenal game.
Yeah. This one I'm steering 100% clear of.
Yeah.
No shot in hell. I mean, it's Vishaal. It's week 3. It's week 3. There's no CMC, no Debo, no Kittle, no Puka, no Cooper Kupp. You've still got Higbee is on PUP. What is this? What is going on?
It's outrageous how many injuries these two teams have in the first 2 weeks of the season. It's seemingly like all offensive players too.
Yeah.
So I just don't see it's crazy how bad it is. But even still, I would still take the San Francisco team against a lot of other teams in the NFL. That's how talented they are.
Yeah.
A 6.5 point spread though it feels like a little much. I mean, it seems like a bit too much. No matter how bad the Rams looked last week, but you still don't want to take the Rams either because this could easily be a 25-point blowout again. I'm totally there with you. Steer clear of this one. You have no idea how it's going to play out, what the game plans are going to be, who the focal points of each offense is going to be.
Well, yeah, and I can pull up the head-to-heads here in the matchup tab. But that's the other thing too, is even when the Rams have been terrible, they have kept these games close.
Yeah.
Like they've either kept it close or won the game in their last couple of meetings with San Francisco, when San Francisco is the juggernaut in these matchups. So it's a divisional game, which is always wonky to begin with.
Right.
They're always close and competitive games, and all the stars that you can semi-rely on in this matchup aren't there. So I have no idea. Like, if you told me San Francisco won this game 30-13, yes, I'd be surprised, because I would think maybe there had to be some like defensive scores or something. There's no way the offense puts up that many points. But if you told me that Los Angeles wins the game 24-10 because Matthew Stafford has a huge day, that wouldn't surprise me either. I really wouldn't be shocked at the outcome of this game one way or the other.
I mean, I would be a little surprised if Stafford had that big of a game because I don't know who he's throwing the ball to. But if it was like a low scoring win for them, like 17-13, and they were able to just run the ball with Kyren Williams and burn out the clock, I could buy that one.
200 yards receiving for Demarcus Robinson. That's what's going to happen.
There we go.
Put it out there right now. Get that over. Baltimore and Dallas, two teams that don't know what the hell is happening right now. They are both shell-shocked.
Yeah.
A clear pick 'em, because any game in Dallas is not really a home game for the Cowboys. It's really not. But I don't know. Again, another one that I'm really steering clear of because I have no idea what to make of either one of these teams.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most interesting matchup of the week. The look-ahead line on this one was Dallas -1. And then after Baltimore blows a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter, they actually end up becoming a favorite in this game by a point, which is very interesting. It's this whole theory about teams, who are desperate will play better in the following week because they have to win. It's not necessarily a theory I buy into very much, although it does happen from time to time. It's just because a team needs to win and needs to play better doesn't mean they can automatically just flip a switch and just play it better because they have to. They have to have the talent to do it. And obviously, this is a talented Baltimore team, but they still have a lot of holes. And my biggest concern with them is that offensive line. I saw what Chris Jones did to them in week 1, just tore them apart. We saw what Max Crosby did to them last week, absolutely had his way. Now you have to go up against Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. I just can't feel comfortable betting Baltimore in this one. If I had to pick anything, I would take Dallas with the points at home. I think they have far fewer issues right now than Baltimore does, but I'm also probably going to stay away from this one as well.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. Yeah. Did you want to touch on Sunday night at all, or?
It's interesting that it seems like a lot of action is moving towards Atlanta right now. This game opened up at closer to 4.5, maybe even 5 in some spots in favor of Kansas City. It's right now a 3-point favor for Kansas City, so a lot of action going towards Atlanta, which I can understand why. If you have a healthy Kirk Cousins who can at least do a little bit more than he showed in week 1 and what he showed at the end of week 2 last week, this could be a very potent offense. They still have a ton of playmakers all over that offense. And Kansas City has not looked terrific so far through 2 weeks, although they pulled out both games. Mahomes had 150 passing yards last week and 2 pretty bad interceptions. So and they're not totally firing on all cylinders yet so far. So there's
clutch DPI.
So this is like this is one of the few times where you can maybe catch them early before Kansas City really starts rolling throughout the rest of the year.
Yep. All right, there you go. If you want to talk Monday Night Football or any other betting, make sure you're joining us in the Discord. There's a link down there in the video description, how you can join, become a member, hop in the Discord, ask us questions, whatever you want to do. V, got any final parting thoughts for the people?
Yeah, definitely make sure to join the Discord. I'll have a pick for one of the Monday night games in there in our betting channel, so make sure you check them out. And we'll have the rest of our picks for the weekend coming up today or tomorrow, so definitely come in there. Feel free to ask questions. We always set up a thread each week for you guys to ask questions regarding betting stuff, whether you guys want us to take a look at a ticket or just answer any questions about stuff you guys want to bet on this weekend. Just come in there, ask us. We'll be happy to answer them either in the chat or even on the show if you get the questions in on time. So hop in there.
Perfect. All right. Appreciate you guys being here. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. V, we'll talk to you next time. Everybody, keep up the nonsense.